My name is Dr. Dobby Coleman, and I am the Dean of Student Engagement Services, and I have the absolute pleasure to supervise and oversee our Veterans Student Supports. And that is led by the amazing Andrew Pierce. Andrew, please raise your hand. Thank you. And I would like to say that this is happening because of Andrew. Andrew is a one-person staff. That's very rare at Pierce College. Usually it's a team. And so Andrew has been doing a lot of this work by himself. And we don't have a budget. And so Andrew has gotten really creative. He's worked with me, and we were able to secure funding for this event and other events. And I have to give it to Andrew. He's done a great job of making sure that different offices on campus that support veterans are included in these conversations. So we are very thankful to have our amazing committee with representatives across campus that are helping us plan events like this. And some of them are sitting on this panel here today. So half the time this is working and half the time it is not. There it is, okay. So now it is my honor to introduce our panel for today. This panel features some of our incredible military-affiliated faculty and staff here at Pierce College, representing a wide range of branches, roles, and lived experiences. Each of them has made the journey from military service to higher education, and today they will be sharing what their transition looked like, what challenges they encountered, and how those experiences shape the work they do to support our students. This conversation is so important because our student body includes a significant number of veterans, active duty service members, and our dependents. When our students see themselves reflected in the people teaching them, advising them, or supporting their journey, it creates trust, belonging, and a deeper sense of connection. The insights you'll hear today highlight not only the diversity of military pathways, but also the many strengths veterans bring to academic and professional environments. Their experiences help us better understand how to support students who are navigating their own transitions. We are incredibly grateful for their willingness to share their stories. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panelists here today. Our first panelist is Darwin Wiggins, retired First Sergeant, Army veteran, Pierce College alumni. Next, I'd like to introduce Marcus Jackson, Army veteran and wheeled vehicle mechanic, now serving with the Office of Student Life. Dr. James Lett is an Army veteran and the Dean of Holistic Supports. Raise your hand once I call your name so people know who you are. Thank you, James. Jeff Hansen, Army veteran, military police, First Sergeant, and faculty member at JBLM campus. Carl Newhouse, Army veteran, Sergeant E5, and faculty member at JBLM. Ron Burleson, retired First Sergeant, Army veteran, helicopter mechanic, JBLM. Our very own Sean Cook, Army veteran and our Title IX, 504, and 88 coordinator for the Pierce College District. Also, when I saw Sean, I didn't recognize him at first. I was like, I didn't know Sherlock Holmes was here. Put your little hat on, Sean. I love this. It was very Sherlock Holmes of you. See? Next, Andrew Pierce, Navy veteran and leader of our Veterans Resource Center. Dong Hinton, Army veteran and serving at JBLM as a representative, and also one of our committee members as well. So please again join me in welcoming our panelists here today. We are so grateful for each one of them and for sharing their experiences. So there's a series of questions that I have highlighted with opening, introductions, navigating the transition, and just based on time and seeing how the audience reacts, we'll just kind of play it by ear. And we do want to have time for audience to be able to ask questions to our amazing panelists. So Janae is going to be one of our mic runners here today. Janae, where are you? So once the panelists are done, we're going to have one mic, and in the era of accessibility, if you can please say your name when you read your question so that those visiting us remotely can also hear you. So for those that feel like answering, I know we have 3 microphones going around, so if you're interested, just kind of raise your hand so whoever speaks next knows what to say. So my first question is, what motivated your decision to transition into civilian life and eventually into a college environment?
Sorry, I wanted to grab the mic first because just want to thank everybody for being here today, supporting this event again, and I'm just glad and overwhelmed at the amount of military connectedness we have in this community. This is just a small sample of the people. We actually had to tell people no thank you for the panel because we had too many wanting to join up here, and I think 9 was plenty. To answer that question for myself, this was kind of an interesting time. I joined the Navy in September of 2000. I did about 1 year of training for my job in the Navy, and after I was in the North Arabian Gulf when 9/11 happened. So we were 2 days away from coming home, and when 9/11 happened, they just told us to stay on station. We ended up there till December. So we did almost 12 months of deployment. That experience, serving, I joined during peacetime and then serving during a conflict like that, and all the things I was asked to do for my country during that time was something I never expected to do as a 19, 20-year-old kid. But one thing in particular, and this one really motivated me to get out, because I had every intention in the world of staying in and doing a whole career. And in 2003, we went to East Timor. The ship I was on, the USS Higgins at the time, we stopped at East Timor to support a humanitarian aid mission. And if you're not familiar with what happened to East Timor around that time, they had voted for independence. They were basically governed by the Indonesian state at that point. And when the people of East Timor voted for independence, the Indonesian government sent in, basically with violence used to suppress that independence movement. We were brought in to not only run security for UN aid that was coming into the country, we were bringing in medicine, food. We were also there. I grew up in high school swinging a hammer, so I knew how to do some construction work. And we were help building basically barracks for the war orphans. There was about 80 kids there. Heartbreaking. At that point in my life, even though I grew up poor in America, and I mean poor, parents were gone by the time I was 13. My older sister let me move in with her. The Navy was my vehicle out of that situation. I still never experienced anything close to what those kids had to go through. That's when I wanted to get out, pursue a life in government, politics, law. Helping people was always my main goal. But at that time, I was like, this kind of stuff doesn't happen in my country. We kind of took that stuff for granted a little bit. I just wanted to be a part of the people working to make sure it never did. So that's why I decided to get out of the service and go pursue my education. And that led me to study government and politics for my bachelor degree, and then on to law school. And I've got to work in legislative offices. I've got to do my own law practice before. And now I'm here because ultimately I knew I wanted to do public service. I knew I wanted to help. And I saw a lot of myself in all the veterans who go to college, because like them, I was a poor kid, come from a working class background, not a lot of institutional knowledge about how to be successful in higher education. And now all of a sudden I have a pocket full of money to go to college with. So when I, told the universe I wanted to be in public service, this opportunity opened itself up to me and I jumped. I was here. And so I'm just grateful to be here. That's a little bit of my story and journey, not to hog the mic, but I'd love to hear other people's because I know they're all different, but that's just my motivation.
Say what motivated me to leave service was sort of like a convergence of things. One, the military was drawing down when I came back from Afghanistan. Two, medically, mentally, I didn't have the juice anymore. And my third deployment, I was in Afghanistan for 10 months and just kind of came to the realization I didn't want to deploy anymore. and ultimately, if you're not willing to deploy, you shouldn't be in the military. So, um, and I was at the right place. I had completed my bachelor degree. I was 3/4 done with my master degree while in service. So it felt like a good time for me to separate, and the medical discharge didn't hurt either. And then, I went home during Afghanistan on a R&R, and just kind of noticed how my mother was looking at me now, like she didn't know who I was. I've been gone now, for better part of 10 years. And so each time I'd gone home, we still kind of, were familiar to each other. But, after 10 years, and, business, makes the heart grow fonder is not necessarily true. makes you, makes people forget you. And so I just wasn't as connected anymore to family, familiarity and whatnot. So, I had a decision to make in terms of if I want to finish out the 10 years and what that would be worth to me. As I said, physically, mentally, emotionally, and just socially. And so it was a good time to go ahead and separate. I wasn't like Andrew. I was really, making this up as I went along. I wasn't sure if I was going to be in 20 years. I didn't join for that purpose. I really intended to do 2 years of the reserves, and then got to the recruiting station and said, sure, I should just be active duty and just, leave Alabama and go ahead and go from there. So I ended up intending to do 4, and then at the end of Korea, I was like, oh, it's not really a good time to get out. The job market's not great. It's 11% unemployment in Alabama. It's a very poor state that I'm going back to. It's like not a good, I don't know any other place I would go, so it's not really a good time. So I stay in, and I'm off and running from there. But the choice to get out was just really a convergence of things. It was time. The writing was on the wall, and the opportunity was there in terms of resources to separate. And then I did not come to Pierce initially as an employee. I came to Pierce as a student. I wanted to see if, computer science or IT or something like that would be in my future. Even though I had all this education, it's a lot of education collected, not necessarily toward what the ultimate goal would be. So I came to Pierce, did a couple of classes while I was receiving a very generous unemployment. And so while I was on unemployment, you have to search for a job, or at least pretend to. I searched for a job and found 3 advisor jobs. One at UW-Tacoma, which required a master's degree, so I was disqualified there. But there was TCC and Pierce, and I decided to decide between. And I decided on Pierce because Fort Steilacoom's campus was prettier. So I was like, I don't know if I want to work at TCC. They don't look like they take care of things. I'm sorry, though.
No, that's okay. I also worked at TCC, so
I did as well.
This campus is exceptionally beautiful, James. That's the first thing I noticed when I came here to interview.
So I was like, hey, they take care, military. So military, excellence is a big thing for us. So, the care and welfare of things. And so I was like, okay, Pierce College looks like they take care of things here. So I'll do this advisor job. And that's how I ended up at JBLM. Plus, I had the skill set and whatnot. But yeah, that's my story in terms of what motivated transition.
Thank you. We'll take one more, and then I'll transition to the next question. I promise there's tons.
I'll go then. Oh, no, you go. No, you go. You go. No, I'm kidding. The question was, why'd you transition, right?
What motivated your
transition? I think for me, it was just a very emotional time. I had lost like 3 family members in the span of a year. And I have been realizing to myself that when you're going through these things like that and you're not being spoken to like a person, it hurts even more. So I said to myself, it's probably time. And that's what motivated my transition out, pretty much. But I came here to Pierce College wanting to pursue not just education, but also community. And I think I'm finding that a lot.
Thank you so much, Marcus. Also, coolest jacket around. Little pop of color. I love it.
Appreciate you.
So, my next question is, how have you translated military experience into a language or examples that civilian employers or colleagues can understand?
Does this work? It is working. So yeah, my military experience, I was an interrogator and a Russian linguist.
Not shocked, is our Title IX coordinator.
So that's been an interesting transition. I never thought I would find a place for those skills, you know? And while I do get the occasional chance to speak Russian to somebody, what I do a lot more is like I do investigations for the college, whether that's gender discrimination or workplace investigations. But my job is to go out and find all the puzzle pieces and put them together and say, I think this is what it looks like. This is what happened, more likely than not. And it's an interesting job. Every day is different and it's stressful, but I definitely feel like I am putting my military skills to work. And also I got all my language credits from my military experience. So that was cool.
So how everything transitioned for me as far as skills. The MOS that I retired from, there really isn't a skill set for in the civilian world unless you want to work at a dry cleaners or something. Because we had the best MOS in the Army, 92 Sierra. We call it Bed, Bath, and Beyond of the Army. We set up showers and laundry and we do clothing repair. So it was Bed, Bath, and Beyond. So that doesn't really transition on the outside. However, I came in the Army as a Vulcan mechanic. I used to work on 20mm cannon and radar. So I know a little bit about maintenance. I know a lot about logistics. And I know a heaping lot about leadership in general. So when I transitioned from the military in 2013, I ended up working at the Washington Youth Academy in Bremerton, working with at-risk teenagers who were at risk of dropping out of high school. So being that I grew up as an inner city kid and I saw people dropping out, and I can tell you that the Board of Education existed in my household. For those of you that understand Southern upbringing. Okay. 4 years before I graduated high school, my sister decided she was going to quit her senior year. That did not work out. She met the Board of Education, or the belt of education, every day for 2 weeks until she went back. And I did not want to experience that. I also watched my mother graduate high school at the age of 43 when I was 7 years old. So education has always been one of those things, and being that my mother was the greatest leader I've ever known, my leadership skills transition on the outside as in, I can tell you what you can do. I'm not going to tell you what you can't do. You know, if you have a can-do attitude, then you can achieve anything. But if you sit there and say you can't, you're just as right as the person that says that they can, because you've already made your dang on mind up. So how it transitions is, I'm a motivator. You know, I'm a retired first sergeant. I know how to motivate people. So just like the other first sergeants up here on the panel. So motivation transitions everywhere. Leadership transitions everywhere. Is it accepted in the civilian world from a military aspect? No, it is not. Because I've had jobs that I was more than qualified for that I got denied because they wanted someone else. They didn't necessarily want someone with a military mindset. So sometimes it's a slippery slope, but don't get discouraged.
I want to add to that really quick before our next, and we'll do one more of this question and then jump to the next one. As a supervisor that has multiple veterans under me, I will say that those employees are some of the most meticulous, some of the most respectful and personable employees that I have, and we don't have issues because they are the first ones to show up, they are the last ones to leave, and they always come in with a good attitude. They are receptive to feedback without getting defensive, and I think that has been one of my favorite part is being a supervisor of working with veterans. And because two of them are here with me today, we've got Marcus and Andrew, and they're just stellar employees. And really, in terms of what supervisors are looking for, that is exactly what I'm looking for. Someone who's going to show up to work with their best foot forward, be open to feedback, and adapt accordingly. And they both do. They're wonderful.
Yeah, to piggyback on what you were just saying, and some of those skills that have transferred over. I was pretty young through my military service. I got out before I was even 24 years old and did a whole 5 years. That learning that the mission is more important than anything personal, so that you can show up if your boss is telling you, hey, this is an issue, this is how I think we can address it. You don't take that with defensiveness. You're receptive to that. Like Dee was saying, having a servant leader mentality. So when my students or my work study comes to me and they say, this is my problem I'm dealing with, my job as a leader is to support them and show them that support. You know, of course, we can all talk about discipline and stuff like that. And we all know, we've all sat up here, we know what it's like to get up at 06, put on the uniform, show up at PT when you don't want to, and do all that stuff. And it's a great skill to learn, but it was more of those things about being part of a greater purpose, a bigger team, and making sure that my sailors around me, whether they were my junior sailors in my work center or my senior sailors or officers who were part of my boarding team or whatever, we were all there as part of a bigger purpose. And I carry that with me no matter where I go. Like I said, that informed my transition out of the service is I still want to serve. I just don't do it with a uniform on anymore, you know, and that's been the biggest takeaway for me coming out of the service into the civilian world, is carrying on my service mentality.
Thank you so much. And so our next question, to piggyback off of some of the things that you all had discussed, I heard little key pieces that made me very excited for this next question. What support, resources, or people helped make that transition smoother for you?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So transitioning-wise, you have to build a network, talk to people left and right, or your supervisor, coworkers, whoever surrounds you, you can talk to them. For example, for me, I work at JBLM, WorkSource, and I found my veteran friend, so we can connect each other and share the resource. And I feel connected with them first, and of course I make friends other civilian sectors too, but having a veteran friend helped a lot because we are going through the same transition. And then second is that find resources, like a fair, like today we had a resource fair, or even county, cities, they do have fairs for employment fairs or education fairs, resource fairs, and especially they are targeting sometimes veterans and their families. And go to the fair and you will meet so many different organizations, nonprofit organizations, and school-wise, like Pierce College, like today we have this event, or JBLM inside, they have a lot of events too, or even county. So go to the fair and meet people and build a network, build a relationship. So you are not alone. Sometimes you feel like you're alone because you are already ETS, PCS, or chaptered. You are out of the military and you feel like you're alone, but actually you are not alone. You will find so many others. So go out there and find friends, resources, and you'll be okay.
I actually want to say the exact opposite of what she just provided. That is exactly what we should be doing. My story is a little different. For those veterans that came in and expects that the outcome is going to be great, we used to have this place called ACAP.
Oh God.
They would help you with this 2-page resume and tell you, go save the world, everybody's going to hire you. And when you got out there, you found out it wasn't the best piece of paper that it could have been. And so most of my time was on the East Coast. I found myself back in South Central Los Angeles without a job, without an idea, and with a pretty weak resume. And life started catching up with me. So I was in the southern, I forgot what's the name, LA Unified School District, and I thought I was extremely smart. At least I appeared to be. But I graduated high school reading at about an 8th grade level. I just want to let that sink in for a second. I was getting A's and B's, but I graduated high school reading at about an 8th grade level. Not comprehension, but as far as speed and moving forward in that way. And those things started hitting me. I didn't have much connection with my veteran community that was moving ahead. Most of us left the military on that 2-page resume. So again, we're the opposite of what you want to do. My family was my network. My family said, listen, try this, do this. And I share this publicly because I want people to understand that the military is a great launching pad. But if you don't have a plan after that, you can fall into a huge ditch and find yourself suffering. So please connect with the resources. The military have moved far beyond that now. They have great places to help you develop your resume. We've gone really far now where we can really help soldiers and airmen and all the Marines and what have you. But making sure you develop a network is key. Whatever that network is, and your military family members are your family, but please don't end up like Carl Newhouse. That's the story.
I know for me, I actually transitioned out here at Joint Base Lewis McChord. So my last year in the military, I was actually deployed in Korea, even though Sesame Street Live was there when I was there. I was like, is this a deployment or what? But anywho, 9 months of my life was in Korea before I transitioned out. When I came back, my unit was disbanding. So I was the first sergeant of Charlie Troop. So basically my unit was coming back with no equipment. All soldiers were either PCSing or moving on or retiring. So it was just me by myself, separated from the military. So I felt when I separated, I didn't have a network. It was just myself. I did have ACAP, or now SFL TAP, which kind of helped me out. But I actually have a partner with some nonprofit organizations within the South Puget Sound area. One of them is Boots to Shoes, or Shoes to Boots, or Boots to Shoes. They actually kind of helped me out with a mentor. Mentor is very important, especially if the only thing that you know is military lingo, and you're trying to translate all your military lingo to civilianize it. So they actually helped me out. I had a mentor to kind of help me out with that. We usually have meetings like every other week, so that definitely helped me out. So basically, you need to have a mentor and also a support group to kind of help you, because as you're going through all your units and PCSing, there's always a friend that's always PCSing or been there or done that. But when you get out of the military, you got to figure out pretty much on your own, because there's nobody that you may know that's already on the other side. So that's all I have.
Just to add to that, when I was a student here, I was a work study with ESD over at American Lake, and we used to have veterans come in with resumes like you were talking about, and their resumes looked like garbage. And I had a guy came in one day and he was like, hey, I'm trying to figure out why I'm not getting any hits on the government website for government jobs. I was like, let me see your resume. He shows me his resume and he has dates, but no title to the job, or a title to the job, but no dates. So I was like, no one's gonna hire you because this is garbage. And I was like, I'm just gonna tell you the truth, it's garbage, but I'm gonna help you. So part of our job there as a veterans representatives was to help them develop a resume so they could drop it on USA Jobs. And some of the guys I was helping, they were actually acquiring employment like quicker. So use all the things that are available to you. If you got a veteran that's getting out and they don't have a plan, tell them to apply for their GI Bill before they get out. If they're getting out on a medical and you know they're going to have a disability rating, tell them to apply for vocational rehabilitation and education benefits. You know, it's somebody's got to guide them, as First Sergeant said down there. You know, you need a mentor. It's not that there's just this, there's no set path for somebody getting out and going back into the civilian world. I worked for, 5.5 years before I decided to go back to college. And the first thing I did was I came here. When I came here, I was only going to take the classes needed to get my bachelor's from Troy University. But Troy University didn't want to play that game with me, so I played a game on them. I was like, y'all just going to lose a student. So I came here, did what I was supposed to. I'm a member of the National Honor Society through here. I was telling other veterans, my wife is a veteran. She works in the Veteran Resource Center here. Our daughter goes to college, well, went to college here. She got her associate's degree. So it's one of those, our daughter didn't have a plan. She was like, oh, I'm going to go into the workforce and I'm going to travel and I'm going to do this. And I said, and where are you going to live? Because you're not going to live in my house and work a mediocre job and think that you're going to be traveling, because that's not how life works. You're either going to go to school or you're going to go somewhere. So I forced her, and she went and got an education. So it's not one of those, well, if I have a way. No, there's a way. You're going to do it. You know, you're going to do what I tell you to do, because that's the way you're going to be successful. Because sometimes you have to keep pushing until they go in the direction that you're pushing them to go in.
I also have to give a shout out now that I've made the connection to who your wife is. I love her. So this is Lily, and she's just amazing. She was nominated as our Achieve the Dream Scholar for Pierce College, and she has a very important interview tomorrow. And so just shows how amazing our veterans are here at Pierce College, all the great work that they do. And good luck tomorrow. You're going to kill it. You do a great job.
I just have one other piece. There's a hidden resource when you're in the military that's, it's not really hidden, it's just one we don't pay attention to. When I was in the military, my platoon sergeant on a periodic basis would share what our actual salary would look like, or that we would need if we got out of the military. And so it very quickly quantified and categorized all of the, not just our salary, but expenses that we don't pay for because of our services, our service. And so that's a tool that I really used to recognize what I have, because we look at, how much we need to make based on, our my pay. At least it was called my pay when I was in. It's been 13 years. It's my pay. And so you look at that, but you don't know like the medical benefits you're losing, the life insurance benefits, and how that affects your family, the legal services that we have for free that you may need. A lot of service members separate, unfortunately, and get divorced within a year of separating, and so need legal services. We don't, and so oftentimes when I work as an advisor, that's where I started here at Pierce. When I'm talking about what their support network looks like, I also talk about what does your resource backfill look like, because of all of those resources that we take for granted because they're just there for us. And they're not there for us when we get out. And when we get out of the service, we all need those resources, all 1 or 5 of those resources almost immediately upon separation. And so being able to categorize and quantify what those resources are and how we're going to backfill is something that's really critical to our separation also.
Thank you all so much. So to follow up on this, because I'm sure you all have a lot to add, are there misconceptions about veterans in higher education that you'd like to address or correct?
I think there's an oversimplification that service members need, structure, and really what we need is systemic systems that work, because that's what we're accustomed to experiencing, systems that have bridges to the next thing. Oftentimes what we encounter, at least I encounter, I need to speak in I statements here, is that often systems, when you get on the civilian sector, have these massive chasms that you have to figure out how to get to the next thing. And that becomes the frustrating piece for you. It's like, okay, here's this piece, and only this piece you gave me, but you said that I'm gonna end up over here. well, what's all the in between here that gets me from here to there? And that's what often we encounter as structure in the services is, okay, from here, you're gonna go to here, you're gonna go to here, you're gonna go to here. And that's not just in mentoring that we receive that. Mentoring is often the connective tissue, but there's a system that you walk through that tells you with transparency where you're gonna end up, like, whether we get promoted or not, we can see how the system works to get promoted. Like we can see, if you're enlisted, if you're an officer, if you're a warrant officer, you can almost time that out when you should be up for that next promotion or whatnot, and see that with pretty good transparency. Civilian sector, not so much, like how those things work. And so really systems that really do provide that wraparound support, and then mentoring really becomes that connective tissue of this is the how-to, the savvy, the know-how that really makes that system effective. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, when it comes to higher education for military, when I deal with, right now I'm at the JBLM, I counsel over 1,100 people, soldiers, families. The one thing I found out is that they get intimidated about associate's degree even, because sometimes the background is that nobody encourage them to go associate's or a bachelor's degree. So what I encouraged, how about try certificate? Because certificates normally they do not have a prerequisite. So like you mentioned about steps, I think I tried to show them, hey, there's a certificate program that no requires for this and that, and you try first. If you like it, then you can continue on. So I show them a little steps. Do the certificate, and that's your interest of area. If you like it, you can do further associates and bachelor's degree. So some people want to do, for example, like nursing, but they're intimidated to try nursing. So I said, how about CNA, EMT certificate first, and have some part-time job or experience. If you like it, you have post 9/11 Montgomery GI Bill, so you can go to the next step for associate's degree. So I try to encourage them, and so far it's been very successful when it comes to talk to soldiers that since they don't have any background of higher education, sometimes the people who are doing great for the bachelor's or a master, that's fine, but the people who are struggling or who doesn't know how to get there, then I show them a little steps. Then so far it's been a great experience.
Thank you. And then I'm gonna let Jeff go really quick, and then Sean.
Yeah, some really great comments here. So I think, a few misconceptions, right? Everyone in the service is a little bit different on their goals for education. They need promotion points in the Army, for example. You can get promotion points to go to another rank. So they may be taking our technology degree that we set up a few years ago for the military members, right? Because that gave a lot of credits. I know both Ron and I helped out a little bit with that. So there's one, but the next soldier may want to do it, or airman or seaman, for going to officer candidate school, for example. Another thing you need education for, or not everyone wants to stay in. Many of us, I specifically joined as a 95 Charlie many, many years ago because it was 3 years instead of 5. Because I was gonna get out and go to college. And 20 years later, it didn't work out quite that way, but some do want to get out after that 2 or 3 year period and come and use their GI Bill for college. So there's so many different reasons a veteran may be coming to college, and getting to understand that and talking to them, understanding what their why is. Dr. Lett gave some good examples of systems. I try to structure my classes that discussions are due every Wednesday, replies are due every Friday, quizzes are due every Thursday. Because again, and I think this works for everybody, just not veterans, is having that structure. And I do make mistakes sometimes and forget dates. But students will let me know, like, hey, Professor Hansen, why was this due on Tuesday instead of Wednesday? And I'll go look and I'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't change the dates for my next quarter. But I think having that structure is really important. And that's not necessarily a misconception, but sometimes, well, you're in the military, they just tell you what to do and you go do it. But we still want to know a why behind why we're doing it. we want to have that structure. We knew Motor Pool Monday, we were given checklists of what we needed to go check and start and make sure everything was there. So I think that's really important as well for veterans.
Thank you so much. And now Sean.
When I came to Pierce College, it was back in 2004, and I was real nervous that I wasn't going to fit in, that I was going to be a lot older, and I'd have wildly different experiences in life than most students, and I just felt like it was going to be weird to go to college. I felt bad about going to a community college because most of my family members, they went to 4 years, and for some reason I felt less than for going to a community college. I chose Pierce because it didn't have the word community in its name. That was really the reason why I chose it. It was one of the best decisions I could make. So I found out that my experience in life and the things I'd done in the Army were seen as valuable perspectives in the classroom, in discussions and stuff like that, that I was a voice of maturity. I also found out that there were people in my classes, even when I was 25, who were like 3 years older, or 3 times as old as I was. They're 70 years old, they're 75 getting their degrees and stuff. So I didn't feel odd. It's really just a broad segment of the community that was in my classes with me. A lot of Running Start students, you're gonna run into high schoolers in the classroom and stuff like that. That's okay. That was a big difference. The other thing is, like, I did really well in Russian school in the Army, and that was because they would PT me to death if I didn't turn my homework in or something. And nobody's gonna do that to you here in college. So that's another kind of adjustment, is like you are totally self-motivated. You know, if you wanna succeed, you've gotta, at the end of the day, be the one who picks up your book bag and puts it on and gets to school on time. And nobody's gonna come yell at you if you don't. So, but I mean, I think the military attitude, you know, be 10 minutes early to everything, you know, good enough isn't good enough, you know, that kind of stuff. Those attitudes will probably serve you in good stead in higher education and the civilian life. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sean. And I feel that stigma that you were discussing is not just common to veterans, and it's something that I think a lot of people face, that I faced too as a 4-year institution. But when I took a class in El Paso, Texas, at a community college, that was life-changing for me because I did not feel like a number in that class. The teacher actually taught us and spent time teaching us very complicated, you know, concepts. The reason I went is because I struggle with, you know, math because of my learning disability, and that was the first class where I felt like they wanted us to learn, not just to go through the class. And so it was definitely changed my perspective.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
So I started school here, and there's a reason I still work here at the college. And so when I came here, it was really because I wanted to. I was tired of like taking whatever job I could get, and I wanted to be able to decide where I wanted to go and aim for a place and then go there. And that's what I started doing. And I fell in love with the access, the community college's mission of access, like getting as many people educated as we can. And Pierce College was such a warm and inviting place, and I felt like I really had a spot here. I ended up being the student body president my second year that I was here. So this has really kind of become a home for me. And so I think it says a lot about the people who work here and the efforts that they make on behalf of their students. So,
Thank you.
Our students, excuse me.
Thank you for sharing. And so now that we're on this topic, raise your hand if you're a Pierce College alumni. Or went to Pierce. Yep, there you go. So I think that says a lot, that all of these folks went to Pierce and they're still here. That speaks volumes to the leadership. I see Matt Campbell, our president for our FS campus, and just I think it's telling that that's part of the reason that these people are here today. It's not just the students, it's how the college is structured. So going on that, because no college is perfect, there is some work that we need to do. What can colleges do to create more veteran inclusive environments? Okay, James, and then I saw Andrew, and then Darwin.
The number one thing is, really maximizing the Joint Services transcript and the Community College of the Air Force transcript, and having that be very transparent to service members in a way that, because I can tell you that in being an advisor, that is the number one thing that really angered service members. Like you're telling me that what I did some really good training, I learned a lot, and then I applied it, and then I've been doing it for 15, 20 years, and you're telling me I can't do anything with it. That's the number one thing that I encountered when I was advising service members that was really, really frustrating. So I know we have the military technology and leadership degree, which is a great step in the right direction, but really being transparent about digging into the transcripts and seeing how this is all a service member is already further down the line than they think. It also maximizes their finite resources, your GI Bill and other resources, funding resources. You don't exhaust them taking courses that you already have the competencies in. That right off the bat, honor is a great way to honor service. And then, of course, continue to advance academic credit for prior learning, because there is for what's on the Joint Services transcript after 20 years, that is maybe 10-20% of what you really learned. And how, I mean, you can, in a 20-year span, you can probably a person can come out with maybe, at least 3 professions that they can go, directions they could go. The job that they trained for at advanced individual training. If you're a leader, you're taught to be mentor, mom, dad, sister, brother, uncle. I mean, you are really doing deep mentoring with service members, and then you're engaged in large scale troop movements as well, moving people and equipment into place in multiple locations, both throughout the United States and especially in unknown areas throughout theaters and whatnot. So those are 3 jobs right off the bat that you've done at a deep level in many cases when you separate from the services. And so really digging into military experience and valuing it up front will really make a difference. And it also helps us get to more competency-based approach to all learning, including those who are not serving in the military. If you're a caregiver for 10 or 15 years, you have to acquire so many skills to be that at-home caregiver for a long period of time. And so getting to a place where we're valuing competency-based education has positive implications for all students.
Thank you, James. And so I had Andrew and then Darwin, and then.
Well, I'm gonna pass it back to Andrew, but to add to what James was saying, talk to your other community colleges in the area. So before I was a Pierce College student, I was also a Central Texas College student. And Central Texas College had a NCO lead program where they would take you half a day for 4 days out of the week, and you go to class and you would get 1 college credit for free. And it led to a leadership certificate if you took all of the NCO lead courses, which was like 26 of them. 26 credits is 26 credits worth of electives. So it's one of those things that is free, and someone's actually getting something out of it, and they're getting promotion points. So if you're dealing with someone who's on active duty and they may not be able to attend traditional classes outside of work, but if you had a program where they could come in for half a day during the week and they get college credit for it, then you're going to boost your popularity with the veteran community and also the active duty community. So it's just things to look at.
What was that college again?
Central Texas College. They actually have an office over on JBL Dam. So.
All right, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, I got out of the Navy in 04. I went to college under the Montgomery GI Bill. I got a year of the 9/11 for my graduate program because I qualified. When I went to college, there was no Veteran Services Office. There was a registrar who knew how to make sure you got your VA benefits, and that was about it. When I started at a community college a lot like Pierce, Grossmont College, Go Griffins in San Diego, and I transferred into my 4-year institution. There was nothing like that. There was nothing like that in my community college either. But I had just left San Diego where all my old shipmates were still living. when I went into my four-year institution, I was kind of looking for that community, and there happened to be a student veteran organization at my four-year. And that was like walking into a room full of NCOs and first sergeants and stuff, and they just kind of made that community for you. I could say, just to, hype ourselves up a little bit, as they say, like what we're doing right here at Pierce College and what some of our sister institutions in the area are doing as well, with creating veteran services offices, having a whole separate VSO office so we can focus on our veterans benefits, and that is what we should be doing. And so we're still building it up. We're still going to make it. We're still going to strive to do better, right? But good enough isn't good enough kind of thing. We have a lot of plans, but this right here, putting on events like this, building an SVO community, making sure there's a veteran services office at your campus because of how important it is, not only for the students that we're servicing, but for the value the institution gets by bringing these individuals onto campus to be students here. Like Dee is saying about the leadership that we give to our fellow students, the kind of classroom experience like Sean's talking about, where those experiences we've gone through, we can talk about and glean the lessons from them to our fellow classmates, even if they're a running start student or they're a 70-year-old citizen coming back to just finish their education. But we're doing it. We got a lot of improvement. We got a lot of room for improvement always. We can always be improving and getting better and growing ourselves, but we are doing it. We're doing it right here. So, pat yourselves on the back a little bit. We're building that community that we need. We're building out our services. We're building out these mentorship programs. I try to link up my work study students with mentees on campus that are just coming in so they have that warm touch point. But this right here is what we could be doing. So if you want to support it, help it grow, thank you everyone to here today. That's what we should be doing. So
Thank you. And then Jeff.
Yeah, both great points. For my full-time agency, we just had a veterans event a couple weeks ago, right before Veterans Day, and again, it's just getting it out. That was like the first time we went full out. I have a great boss who's retired from the Army as well, and really put a lot of effort, and we made it happen. But it's getting that information out there. And on my other hat that I wear, I worked with a candidate that applied to our agency, Coast Guard Reserve. He was a little apprehensive. He's been out of law enforcement for a couple of years. He didn't want to go to the academy again. But I saw Coast Guard Reserve. It said BALIA, which is Basic Law Enforcement Academy. And I was like, you're eligible to go to the truncated 1-month equivalency academy. And that will transfer over. So it's understanding those different programs that are out there. It was Darwin, right?
Yeah.
Made a good point about Central Texas College. I've worked with them as well in the past. They had great programs like the GT Improvement Program, Adult Education. But there are a lot of programs. I learned to transfer credits at a young age from going to base before online education did. And I found this manual. I worked military police, corrections, so I worked night shift. We had a library called the SOCAD. And it talked about what you could take credit-wise and transfer to other colleges. So that always stayed in my mind, and that's what I used a lot. I use that as a resource when we did the leadership degree as well for the military technology, is to how to transfer those credits. So always be open. If somebody says like, hey, I got credits from this college in Kansas or Texas because of this program that I went through, see if it's something that we can't transfer through to our degrees as well, because it very likely can be if we just do a little bit of paperwork.
And Pierce is a SOCAD college.
Correct, it is.
Thank you. And so, since we were running out of time, this is going to be our last question, and I would love everyone to be able to participate if you're able. This question is, what advice would you give to someone who is about to transition out of the military and is uncertain about what their next step is?
I'll take the first. First and foremost, don't listen to anyone that's never been out of the military before. I'll say that. There's so many people who are just like, hey, you gotta do this, that, and that. I don't care about anything else. And like, when you're out, they're not with you or anything like that. But there have been so many people that have like transitioned out and have stories, have experiences on this other stuff. I'd listen to those people a little bit more. So that's one. And two, just be ready to find that community.
Thank you, Marcus. Who's next, James?
You know, a lot of times when you're in the military, you're flowing with the times, and say something. You're flowing with the times, and you're doing what's asked of you, and that becomes your win for the day. But I would encourage you, anyone who's separated, to really get connected to what is your values statement? Like, what is it that you value? Because that's going to really dictate a lot of your planning. Like, do you value, going back? Like, is going back home an option for you? Do you really want to go back to your origin? Do you want to start anew in this location, which a lot of people do? Do you have a specific like, are you going to be a people person when you get out, or you really want to be away from people, because that also dictates career and other choices that you're going to make. And so what really get connected with it's always in the back of a service member's mind, what their values are, but bringing those to the front and letting that lead your decision and planning, because that also helps with a lot of confusion around, should I do this thing, should I do this thing, should I do this program, because everything starts to look good on a restaurant menu, and then everything starts to not look good on the restaurant menu. I don't think I'm hungry anymore because there's too many choices, but I still feel my stomach growling, and so I need something to satiate me. So really getting connected to what your values are and bringing those to the front. It's great that, and again, having that servant mindset, doing what's best for others has been our work, but this is the time as you're separating to really think about what's best for you and your family. Is really important. And my next thing, I always go back to what I said earlier, really coming to understand what your true salary really is, like what you're truly being paid in one way or another. Like, you may see that that you're making 48,000 and actual and salary you can see, but you might be closer to like 75, 80,000 with all of the resources that you have available to you that you're not actively paying for because they're already being provided to you. And so what backfills that is helpful. And then if you have not been engaged in any type of budgeting, like I didn't have a budget the entire time I was in the military, as long as the 1st and the 15th happened, I was good. But when you get out of the service, especially if you went in at 18 and no one ever did any budgeting, it is really critical that you engage in some type of budgeting. And I don't necessarily like the term financial literacy because it infantilizes people, but thinking about how you can be financially empowered. The conversation that the vet, I think was the person was talking about, is really important. How do you get to a point where you're really empowered with the resources that you have, both if you're getting any type of financial benefit, your home loan benefit, but also really budgeting how you're going to use what your expenses are before you leave service. Is really important. Not to scare you, but if it does put fear in you, then let the fear happen, and then use that as a way to move forward in connecting with mentors who can help you really organize yourself. Otherwise, when you get out, it hits you in a way that you're dying the little death of losing a culture and a sustainable living and connection to people that you're grappling with. And then you're also dealing with the very real circumstance of, oh my goodness, I've got to figure out how to put this to, tie this to this week, to this week, to this week, to this month, to this year, to really get to go forward.
Yeah, that was great advice. I want to say, what is your long-term and short-term goal is? So if you have a long-term, you want to be certain salary or a certain position, that's your long-term goal, right? You want to get there. But then short-term goal, how you gonna get there? Do you need some part-time job, or do you need at least minimum associate's degree, or you have to figure out what is your long-term and short-term goal is, how to get there. Sometimes the long-term goal takes time, but then then you have to think about short-term goal, 1, 2, 3, or how do I get there short-term, right? So think about your goals, life goals, career goals. And then second, I want to continue about this networking, build a relationship with people, meeting people, talk to people, so you can figure out who you want to be when you get out. You know, it's a different world as a civilian. It's you feel like you're alone because you don't have your buddy anymore. So you have to think about, okay, I need to go to the fair, education fair, resource fair, meeting people, non-profit organization, like come this symposium today and think about networking. And so it helps you to build the navigate your short-term and long-term goals. Good luck.
I just want to say one thing. It's I want y'all to think of it from the aspect of who's the richest NBA player? Do y'all know? Who's the richest NBA player?
Currently or all time?
All time.
Michael Jordan.
Nope.
LeBron
Junior Bridgman.
What?
Junior Bridgman is the richest NBA player of all time. He did not make a significant income in the NBA. He made all his money outside of it. Even though he was good enough to play in the National Basketball Association, he was not what we would call a premier player like Michael Jordan, where he would get all those endorsements. When he was riding the bench, he was talking to the owners. He was using that free time to get a free education on business from the owners. So when he transitioned from the National Basketball Association, he went and opened up a trucking company, then he bought a bunch of restaurants, and then it just, over time, he created all this generational wealth because he used basketball to do the networking. You know, it wasn't one of those things where basketball was his dream, but basketball just gave him the opportunity to make money to work toward the dream that he wanted to have beyond basketball. So think of the bigger picture. Just because this, like she said, think of a goal. Just because that's your goal right then, once you achieve that goal, set a new one. You know, goals don't stop. You know, and you don't have to stop either. So as James was saying, it's nobody talks to you and nobody's telling you anything. And you were talking about the financial literacy. When I was here at Pierce, we had an assignment where we had to find a TED Talk and we had to present it, right? So I found a TED Talk and it was about this guy called Curtis Wall Street, I forgot his last, Curtis Wall Street Carroll. Now the significance of Curtis Carroll is he was 17 when he got sent to San Quentin for life, right? 17 years old for life and murder. When he got to prison, he could not read at all. You know, could not read. But here he was giving TED Talks to millionaires, and he had founded this this nonprofit organization. It's a FEEL, Financial Empowerment Emotional Learning. He says because every time people get in their feelings, they spend money. So he was like, he wanted to educate people on how to make money and how to have the money continue to make money, where you would generate generational wealth, but you would also be able to pass on the education to people on how to do it. So, you know,
When he was in prison, they quit working.
when he was in prison, he used to have someone read the comics to him all the time because he couldn't read. And then one day, he had an old man, he grabbed a piece of paper from him. It wasn't the comics, it was the stock market. And the old guy told him, he said, that's where rich white people hide all their money. So he was like, he wanted to know more about it. And this is like a true story. You can look him up. You go on YouTube and find his TED Talk, but he had a goal. He wanted to learn. He learned his first word was he learned how to spell candy. You know, so if he can go from learning how to spell candy to learning how to invest in the stock market and to get to the point where people want to hear him talk about how to make more money, and he was a criminal, someone with more potential than a criminal can do more than he can.
Just to piggyback, I think the mics are slowly going out. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Or was I getting cut off, Carl? We don't need to hear you today. No.
We need your
Just to
opinion.
piggyback really quick, I think the greatest thing for those that's in the military about the transition, for those of us that's not, doing a true self-assessment, find out who I am. The military does a great job of pointing us in the right direction. molding us and shaping us into what we need to be for that purpose. But we have to be a little bit selfish while we're in the military and figure out, who am I? And conducting a true assessment, we might walk away with some invisible wounds from the military. And we have to accept that. Invisible wounds, maybe PTSD, for that, just to clarify that. We may walk away with some physical trauma. We have to incorporate all that into our vision going forward, because this is our new normal. So while we're in the military, we can really take that time to growth and development. And I'll just share this one piece. I told you how mine started off. Life started off, I ended up in the mechanics field, then a plumber's union. I injured myself, and there was a gentleman at the VA that said, because I was thinking about college, he said, "Hey, you say you like helping people." I said, "Yes, sir. I do. I want to help other people that was poor and had a hard time like me." He said, "Well, why are you going into psychology?" I said, "Because that's why I understand you can help people." And he sat and he talked with me, and he identified how social work allowed me to do 26 other jobs based upon what I wanted to do, instead of the 3 that I was limited to with psychology. So that was one of my first steps in the understanding who's the real Carl at the very essence. How was I born, brought into this world? And I always had a desire to help people. So please take that time while you're in to consider and find out who you are and who you are meant to be in this world after the military.
Thank you so much, Carl. That's wonderful. I think we have Sean, Ron, and Jeff.
I would say if you have time, more than 2 years, I would recommend start looking at that transition process a lot earlier than 2 years, even 6 months, because you do need to kind of figure out what your plan A is going to be. If that doesn't work out, what plan B is going to be. If that doesn't work out, what plan C, and so on and so forth. I know you're very adaptable, because we all need to adapt to change, especially in the military. So that's something that you can take with you. A good website, especially if you're in that transition process, is called ONET, O-N-E-T. Especially for those that are getting out, you can do some comparisons with regards to what education you may need. You can do some comparisons between different states at that particular job. You can also see what the average salary is for those positions as well. So I think that is a very impactful website, and especially you can put your MOS in there, and then it also identifies what it can kind of translate to in the civilian sector. So ONET's a pretty good website, and then also just take time, flexibility, and find a mentor.
Thank you so much, Ron, and then Jeff, and then Sean.
Some great points about plan A, B, and C. With hiring people, sometimes they're so dead set on, I want to do this. But the reality is, a lot of hiring managers won't give you feedback if you don't get a position. For me, if we don't get positions, I can't speak about some of this stuff because it's polygraph related, psychological related, or medical related. And unfortunately, that means your plan A is probably out if you can't pass those. And a lot of, as we know, service members kind of gravitate towards that structure that maybe law enforcement or security deals with. So understanding like ONET is a great resource. We use it in the class. One of the classes I teach is ONET and skills assessments. What's your gap assessments? Look at what your gaps are. Like if you know you want to do something, starting at the college is a great deal. 10 years in, I had an officer talk to me about Masters of Business Administration. Again, military police, corrections. By 10 years in, I'm like, I can't work shift anymore. I just can't do this. Weekends, I never have weekends off. You know, what was me, right? And I'm like, oh, an MBA sounds good. So I went for that, and it has opened many doors for me to include right here. So have that backup plan and look at what you really want to do and understanding what you want to do and what your desires are, but be realistic too, because sometimes you may not be able to get into that chosen path for whatever reasons. There are barriers, and some of them, unfortunately, we can't overcome.
And then Sean.
I think I heard somebody say that the two biggest things we lose when we get out of the military is our unit and our mission. And that really resonated with me because you don't have your family around you anymore, or not your your military family, and you don't have that sense of purpose that kind of is instilled in everything you do. But those things are out there waiting for you to be found again, is to find a new unit and a new mission, whether that's like volunteering in your community or finding another way to serve the community or the country. These opportunities exist out there. Also, I didn't have any kind of plan when I got out of the Army. I never planned on being a Title IX coordinator or an investigator or any of the stuff that I'm doing now. But we're like, a lot of the vets I know, like we're schooled in how to adapt and overcome, right? Like, and not only that, there's never, I don't think at any other time in history have there been more people out here in the community standing by ready to help you and try and lift you up and get you where you want to go. So don't be afraid to reach out. You deserve all the services that have been put in place for you. You deserve the benefits. Apply for them. My wife had to drag me by the ear to apply for disability, and it's made a huge difference in my life. So take advantage of those things. You deserve them. I'll say it again. Like, a lot of people think they don't deserve them. Like, no, those are the people who had it worse than me. No, you wrote a check up to and including your entire life to the country, and you're getting some benefits as a result of that, and that's okay. So that being said, is have big dreams and go after them, because you've got a lot of valuable skills, and the country still needs you. The community still needs you to be there and bring all these amazing qualities that you've collected over your years of service back into the community and share them with everybody else. So I'm, from one service member to another, thank you for serving, and I hope you continue to do so. And if your journey brings you to Pierce College, we're really excited to have you and help you get where you want to go. So
I just want to thank you all so much for being here, and if we can please give them a round of applause, not only for their service, but thank you for everything that you do for our students and what you've done for us. We're so appreciative. And I would like to end our symposium today to again thank our military affiliated student programming committee that helped put this wonderful event together. We couldn't have done it by ourselves, and it really takes a village, and it takes that breaking down the silos to make sure that we are supporting students across the district. So again, special thanks to Amanda Granata, Janae Ryan, Andrew Pierce, Melissa Medina, Diana Baker, John Hinton, Eldrin Pelorn, Ron Burleson, Jan Curtis, Manila Mercurio, Brian Creamer, and then myself. That's kind of weird. And again, thank you so much for being here. We do have exit surveys on the table. Before you leave today, if you could please take a flyer with you so that you can do that exit survey. That will help us understand what went well and what didn't go well, and if you want us to adapt as we do programming throughout the year. So again, thank you to our keynotes, our panelists, and everyone who made this event possible. It's been a long day, but a really wonderful and rewarding day. So again, thank you so much, and give yourselves a round of applause.